إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تعالى إن نحن نزلنا الذكر وإن له لحافظون. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أما بعد, brothers and sisters, considering the ongoing situation of Islamophobia, it is really very essential to know for ourselves, to know our deen, and being able to describe our deen and beliefs based on reasoning, rational, at least to the people who are kind of a little distance from us. There are a lot of negativity about our deen. This is, in the last 200 years, approximately 60,000 publications or books, literature being produced against against Islam or the negativity, Islam and Muslims and all that stuff, which roughly translate like 2 books a day or something, so you can understand what kind of attempt is being made to destroy our religion, and especially the last 100 years because of the advent of introduction of press, printing press, and now 40 years of internet and now social media. This effort is intensified in a very large scale. People throwing information which has no basis, and they're trying to provide proofs or information against Muslim or Islam. Last time I was talking about the Orientalists, actually their main focus, especially the academics, their main focus to criticize the Quranic Mus'haf, right? And try to discredit the validity of it. From all our base, the core is our Quran and the Sunnah, and they want to discredit so that we cannot make claims or produce it as an authentic book. And they want to portray Muslims as they believe and follow the tradition, like any other tradition, the African or Amazonian traditions. It's like similar to that, and they follow these traditions blindly. So it's important, like I mentioned last time also, I mentioned that it's important for us to know the Quran, to know how it is conveyed, or Sunnah, how it conveyed to us. And I mentioned the concept of mutawatir. Inshallah, I actually want to add to that method, describe it, elaborate it a little bit more, so that we know, we understand how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected the Quran. For example, we start from the start, we believe, we have certain beliefs about Quran, especially I'm talking about Quran and Sunnah as well, but especially Quran, that we have a understanding, some beliefs which we never validate or verify what is actual the truth or what is the actual academic facts about it. And these people criticize based on this lack of knowledge about our own religion. So I'm going to share a couple of examples, or a few of them actually. So we grew up with this belief that Quran has only one book, there's no version. I mean, in our booth and all that, we always describe there's only one version. But that's not true, right? Academically, when you go, it's a very known information that Quran has 5 different versions, like Hafs, Warsh, Khalaf, and so on. Like, my point is there are 5 different versions. And as soon as we talk about Warsh or something, people think oh, it's the the accent or the pronunciation difference. It's actually not. When you go to the academic or the sources, you will know there are words, missing words, and one version to the other. There are vowels used differently. And not only this, but there are many others, but generally speaking, also they have what you call vocabulary, like singular and plural on the same words. So there are noticeable differences, and for the Orientalist, this is enough to discredit. Like, oh, we don't know whether it's the authentic Quran or not. There's another belief we have, like about Quran, that there is no mistake in the Quran. Especially the letters and the words, the way it was saved, it's the same way throughout, which is, again, academically not true. There are many letters, like, especially when we look at it, there are many mistakes in the writing, like, extra alif or wow or ya. At times, it doesn't mean anything within the writing, but at times, if you read that, it actually changes the meaning. So that is another area which they actually focus and, like, bring the information. And the most important, like, they pick it up, it's called mansukh al-tilawa, those ayat which was part or known as Quranic verses, and they taken out later on, like the verse of Rajam, the most famous one, or the verse of ayat of Raza, like for the suckling. These are examples that these are also they actually criticize, like who knows what you actually keep in the Quran, what you take it out. But another one which is like, we always, anybody who knows a little bit of history of Quran, they always think about this, like in the third Khalifa's time, because of the kingdom, or that Muslim control was far and wide, and that people start reciting Quran in a different way, and then we actually take a situation in control by collecting the Mus'haf in one original Mus'haf and destroy the other, collect all the other ones and destroy them, and then made 5 copies and send it to the 5 different areas of the Muslim kingdom or Muslim areas. Again, when you go and look at it academically, there are differences on those copies, because they were written by hand, right? So sometimes there are words where, the ayats were written in a different way, or, change the words or something. Their whole scholarship about it, like if anybody is interested, there are books available, Understanding the Quran. There's a very, the recent book by Dr. Salim Shihab has very profound research in it. So, coming back to the main topic, I was saying, like, we know that this Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala passed on to us through generation after generation with a method called tawatur, right? So, generally, again, the word tawatur or mutawatir is, we hear this word in our conversation, Islamic circles and, lectures. The word we normally use is coming from muhaddithin, the people who actually narrated, this called hadith scholars. They use it. That is a different term they actually use. So to understand the difference between mutawatir, which we actually use for the transmission of Quran and Sunnah, and the term used in hadith, mutawatir, I actually wanted bring it to your notice that these seems like subtle differences, but it actually makes a big, huge difference when we know what we are talking about, or how people are actually criticizing our Quran. So, and those are the basis, these words or these terms or their understanding, basis to defend and describe them the way we actually believe in it. So, to get into it, this is a little bit detailed, but it's very important to understand when we talk about mutawatir or this term, how the scholars actually use it. They use it in a context of ahadith. There are categories of ahadith. They're called, one called ahad and one called mutawatir, right? So akhbar ahad or akhbar mutawatira. And this term is important to understand how we actually look at the Quran later on. But let me explain what is these two difference of these two terms. So akhbar ahad is the number of narrators who actually bring the information from Allah's prophet, or the news was narrated by few people, 1 to 3, or some numbers, some scholar different. And the mutawatir is a bigger number, like 9 and plus. When so many people actually describe a hadith, the authentication or the validity of that hadith goes on a level higher, which is called mutawatir. But even to understand, there's another point to it which makes the difference between this terminology and the terminology we use for the Quran. So it's kind of important to understand what hadith actually is in its essence. We all know that things what Rasulullah described or did or approved are called sunnah or recording in hadith. But not only this, the actual thing is hadith. When look at the example like this, like Rasulullah is sitting or going somewhere and he describes something and talk to somebody and people like it, or explain something related to religion or outside of religion, they see the love and he's so important to them. They go and they talk to other people, describe what Rasulullah says, right? When they describe what Rasulullah says, they describe it on their own behalf, right? So it is difficult to accept it way down, like 200, 300 years ago. So actually what scholars to understand whether this is from Rasulullah is the valid thing, they actually kind of search or research or go take this to a criteria, this ahadith to a criteria, and they it's important to understand, the criteria for this hadith is there are like 3 major things for the there's a whole science of al-jarh al-ta'dil or al-rajal. Anyway, the point is they actually, once they get this authentic or the hadith, they take it to a filter. The scholars actually go through whether this the person who is describing the hadith, he's a good character, he has a good character, he's not a liar, he's not do the tadlis, he's not in the lesson, just storyteller. Also, they actually determine whether the this connection from one person to the other actually connected or not, like it calls the sound. Like they actually connected, it's validated, the validated information that the person who is actually passing on actually meet the other person or communicate with the other person. Another criteria is they actually check the intellect of the person, whether he understands, his memory is good and all that stuff. So based on this, they actually verify, oh, this is a good hadith. And then they validate the actual hadith based on the reasoning of it and the status, whether it's not going against or anything. So that is one area of scholars which they actually focus to verify the Islamic information, pass it on to the other person. And they use the number of people who actually describe it as mutawatir, right? So the whole thing is now, which I actually wanted to focus is the other term, which is we use tawatur. It's called tawatur tabqa. A generation to generation, group of people to group of people. So and I will describe probably the difference as well. But tawatur tabqa is like so many people listen or take a knowledge or a practice and pass it on to the other generation or other group, which is collectively it's impossible for them to be to understand a lie or a fake information or fake practice. So that is because of the number of people. We know Rasulullah, by the end of the time, he has 100,000 people who knows what he's saying, who knows, can validate what the Quran is, what he is reciting. So based on this, we actually take this methodology, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take this methodology to convey the Quran and Hadith, which are the Quran and Sunnah, which are the core and of our religion. And it's not only this practice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually tell us how he actually preserved this. And based on this, like, when we talk about it, most of the time these Orientalists or the critics, they says like, where is the original Quran? Where is when it started? When it is? And last time I actually mentioned it, that we actually doesn't take the Quran based on like who wrote it or something. The way Quran was transmitted, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed it, Rasulullah recited, people actually memorize it and then pass it on. And there are like, all those some differences I actually mentioned. If we understand this method, it actually answers everything in one thing. So what happened is people were writing, like, somebody writes something here and there, and they were collecting all this Quran. Rasulullah goes and talks to the people in a different, like voice or something, or the dialect. And they carry on because they listen from Rasulullah. It's very precious to them, and they continue with it. But Quran tell us in the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually organize it and give it to the Rasulullah, which he actually went, recite twice. One time with Jibreel, one time he recited and Jibreel listened, and then the other time the other person did it. So he finalized one copy. The copy is called Arzai Akhira. So that is the copy which throughout the centuries is the standard. And that is the version we say is the one we actually bank on, like, we actually believe on. Everything comes out of it. The other versions are out of Akhbar Ahad. A small group or a person actually listening, and they, because of it, the importance for him or that group, they kept it in safe. And it's not a small number, it's quite a bit. Like, this practice of these Quran, especially since Saudi Arabia actually started printing those Quran, they are very much available in a portion, like 10, 11 countries in the world where these Qurans are very popular. But the point is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually validate the copy, which is being consulted and observed by 97% of the Muslims. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually tell us in the Quran about that copy that Inna alayna jam'ahu wa Qur'ana, like, the whole thing, Inna alayna jam'ahu, we will actually collect it together, like in the last time they collected Rasulullah and the Qur'ana and then recited. And that's just not only this, fa'izahu Qur'ana, and when it is being recited, fattabi'u, then follow it, like, whatever the order Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually put it in, now that is the order we have to follow. So that is making it, that Quran is the one we all have it at our home. That is the Quran, which is the most authentic. And anytime anybody actually criticizes, we need to know this. And all these explanations, like what I'm saying, like this understanding, also make us like understand the lofty status, the high status of the Quran, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, right, revealed it, organized it, instruct us to follow it, and also promise to protect it. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Brothers, all this information, all this little technical detail about the Hadith of Quran, the main purpose is to identify the people, outside people, has an agenda to criticize the Quran in a way that it will make us, if our knowledge is not correct, it will make us make doubts in our heart, right? But this is not the only thing, not only outside. Like earlier I mentioned, the high status of Quran, actually the haqq of Quran is to understand ourselves. So the rest of us leave aside the outsider, even our own people who actually use the Quran in a way which is not in alignment with the Quranic, the Islamic teaching. Let's say these a lot of jihadi movements and people who are kind of have extreme ideas. They use the Quran to justify their action. So the importance is, out of all this talk, if my advice is for myself first and for you as well, to actually go back to the book of Quran, go back to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is kind of always been difficult for the non-Arabic speaker how to go to the Quran and understand it. So the scholar says very simple. If you make things difficult, it will kind of hinder your going to the Quran and understanding it. Make it very simple. Empty your mind. Whatever you know about it, or you have perceived ideas, leave them aside. Go to the Quran, whatever language you actually know, and read the Quran, and listen what Quran says to you. Whatever, just go through the Quran, whatever portion you want to read, the whole Quran, just go through it with your language, right? Like the translation of it, and take a pencil and make points, right? This I don't understand. This doesn't make sense. This is not right, and then pick up a good established tafsir and try to understand the areas which you don't know or you're not clear. Go to those areas and learn that tafsir. And even if, most of the time this is enough for vast majority of us. But even if that doesn't make sense, then go and ask the scholar, the Quran scholars, that this portion I don't understand. Because there are so many doubts going around in this time. A lot of this ilhad, the ideas of this atheist ideas are going around and corrupting our basic reasoning. So it's good if first try to understand the Quran from Quran, basic understanding, whatever the language is, and then go and listen what the scholars actually explain it, whatever the portion. But we have to make an effort. We have to go, dedicate some time, pick up a portion of the Quran, or actually the whole Quran, and go through it. Make points, like with a pencil. Hey, I don't know this. I need to know what it means. Does it mean this or that? And then pick up to see it. And inshallah, that's advice for me and for everybody. May Allah make us good da'is of the Quran and most practical followers of the Quran.
Ameen.
قال الله تعالى إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار والحمد لله رب العالمين. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر. وأقيموا الصلاة.